Jason Raznick, founder of Benzinga. Benzinga is a financial media company. We have different verticals here. One of them is cannabis. We've been covering it since 2014 and reach millions of readers and investors monthly relating to the cannabis vertical. Originally, it was Benzinga, Benzinga. We were like the 21st century news media information source, and we look at industries that aren't covered and are emerging. In 2014, there was a lot of unknowns in cannabis, a lots. And so when there's a lot of unknowns, there's also a lot of companies that aren't real and fake, and you don't know what is what. And so Benzinga, we're really good at going deep on companies and learning, the real companies versus the fake companies. And we've been, doing that since 2014. And what happened is people started coming to us saying, "What about this company? What about this company?" And we have that information. We have a guy we work with, 420 Investor, and he's been in the space since that time. And we've just from that day on have built this thing that gives people information when they're investing in the space. So if a company's real. We have these companies come to our events. You're looking at the prospects. There's going to be winners and losers in any vertical, especially in the cannabis space. And we wanted to make sure to provide that data and knowledge to investors. So emerging industries are very exciting to us because that's where there's a lot of disinformation, a lot of information that's incorrect, and we try to discern that information and give it to readers. The end of 2016-17 is when we really went hardcore in it, where we have a whole team. We have a whole media team that, we probably write 10 to 20 articles a day in the cannabis sector on companies, on leaders, and then we have a real-time feed. It's a full vertical, just like we treat the telecom vertical or the semiconductors or technology. Cannabis is one of those full verticals that we're very excited about and how it can change the industry and change, in terms of health. People think cannabis is just like smoking weed. No, it's CBD is part of it. My mom had no idea what weed or any of that was. She has bad back. Someone told her to do a CBD ointment. She tried it a year ago. It's been night and day. She can golf, all this stuff by using a CBD ointment. For some reason, these things weren't out there for people. And so it's our job to let people know these things exist. There's other remedies. You don't just have to take, drugs. There's other drugs that are over the counter or, the pharmaceuticals sell to you. And there's other solutions. And that kind of life-changing stuff where people can do things is, to me, it's a social injustice that people don't know more about it. Yeah, 100%. We did an event in 2014, I believe it was, and it was very successful. But other teams like, we shouldn't do it. We're not in the cannabis space. We're in the financial media. It wasn't considered financial. It wasn't like a real industry. So there's definitely pushback, and that's where I said we went into hardcore 2016, and we changed because there's people that said, "Hey, we're not," and that proved incorrect because cannabis is a real industry. It's a real industry, just like pharmaceuticals are a real industry, just like telecom's a real industry. So we get pushback. I mean, I have this feeling as a leader that I want to make everyone happy. I hate giving people negative or whatever. I want to get everyone happy. It's the wrong way. I've been making mistakes in that way. It's not about just getting everyone happy. Sometimes you gotta go through the challenges and the obstacles. I mean, think about this. People used to rip on Amazon like crazy. I used to ask retailers, "Oh, no one's gonna want to put their credit card in." I had an online textbook store, and no one's gonna want to buy books up from me way back when because they don't put their credit card. They want this. Everyone is resistant. It's resistance, and if the more that we can be open to change. I mean, some of the things, is valid, but I just think that as a culture, we need to take things like a day one approach where you come in each day and say, "Are all things equal? Did anything change?" I mean, when you hear things on the news about you shouldn't have this cheese or this is this, or they do a what's it called, a rollback or cancellation. When you hear that thing, when you hear something like that, then you're not going to keep eating that bad stuff if you hear something. So in the cannabis space, you make changes, you adapt to it. My mom, the story was that she was in a hotel and she called down the security or the whatever house cleaning and say, it smells like there's a skunk in our room. And it was because someone was smoking cannabis in the room next door, but they had no idea. And now my mom has a medical license and goes to stores and gets CBD for her back. I would say two things. The first thing is how many companies get started in this space and aren't here today. And the reason they aren't because they didn't build a business with solid fundamentals. They were just trying to jump in like a Johnny come lately. The second thing is the fear around it. So being that it's a new industry, but also that's, could seem as a bad thing. The fear of investors to look at the industry, saying, "Oh, this is not going to work," when you can talk to real life people who it's changed their life. My uncle has Crohn's, couldn't even golf at certain times. They're doing different, with cannabis, and it's night and day for him. So the surprising thing is when you see these stories, that people aren't recognizing that these are true things. But it reminds me of another industry, another car company, Tesla. I was on our show 2 years ago saying that there'll be a Tesla in every parking lot, and there's a guy here, Spencer, over there, that came to me after the show. He's like, "Don't say stuff that you don't believe, Jason, on the show." I'm like, "What do you mean? I believe that. Tesla's going to be ubiquitous, and it'll be a car in every parking lot, within 2 to 3 years." Well, now you're starting to see that. And so Tesla is one of those things that people all hate on it. Like, you can go look 6 months ago, and now it's a whole new rally around it. It's the same thing that's going to happen in cannabis. The same thing. So you're going to have people like are hating on the space. I promise you, in a year and a half, 2 years, there's going to be like, oh my, like everyone's going to be talking about it. And everyone's going to forget about all the people hating on it. I mean, that's what happens. Everyone's going to forget. And so that's what's surprising to me, in the sense that how society can shift like the wind, and versus say, this is interesting. Some people love it. Why is this interesting? It's just that I think what it is, I think as kids, we find a way to do something. Like, you get up, you brush your teeth a certain way. You're not going to go, you find it weird when you hear someone else does it another way. Because we as humans get so accustomed to not change. We are resistant to change. And I think if you take the approach of something new in this world is here every day, and you take it I'm gonna approach it as change. Drive home in a different way today and see how that goes. Take the thing where I'm gonna explore versus judge. I'm gonna explore versus judge. At the end of the day, you do that, you can win in a big way. At our Benzinga Cannabis events, bzcannabis.com, the one story that I think rings true is the amount of people that are trying to solve problems for people. So they're not just trying to, make money, but they're trying to build businesses that can actually, solve problems for people. We had Ricky Williams at one of our events, ex-Miami Dolphins player, has a cannabis company, and his mother-in-law was getting sick, and he really looks into the science behind it, and he really goes deep on that. And so I think that kind of stuff, where these cannabis companies at our events aren't just here to make a profit. They're here to solve problems for people. It's not just to get high. It's how can it solve problems? How can it be, instead of taking Ambien, is there something you can take at night to help you go to sleep? That's the stuff that, you don't have the Nike of cannabis yet that says, okay, here's the Nike of cannabis that's going to give you more energy for the day. That's the stuff where we see there's openings, but that's where I think, at our events, where you find the companies that can be interesting, that will be the Nike of cannabis, or be this part of the business. There's also an insatiable desire to read about the industry from early adopters. It's the same thing that happened with Tesla, a lot of early adopters, but most of society, which it's not going to change. Society's not going to change. People are accustomed to their ways. They're not going to be open to things. They're not going to be. It's just not how we're formed. So I think by taking this approach of understand that cannabis will be part of life. With more states making it legal, and many for medical already, you're gonna see it legal federally eventually, and it's gonna change how medicine and curing illness. It's gonna change that. It's gonna change. And when I first started having events, I didn't know. I thought it was just I didn't know. The last year and a half has shown me another way, and I've talked to so many people, Calvin Johnson's family, that where cannabis has been a night and day change maker for them, night and day, and that's what I think is a real story. Our employees do not get drug tested for cannabis, but they we didn't have that before. I don't think that necessarily impacts the work product. It's like I think that part of the game, I get that in manufactured and assembly lines. It may be something that is not good to be high when you're working. I'm not saying be high here, but I just think that what you do personally at home, if you're endangering someone else, that's a problem, and that's not acceptable. On the other side of it, we want like that's not something that I think is we do a thing like. Or we used to call it beer 30. I was making jokes, maybe it's going to be cannabis 30 one day. But I don't think the building would be too happy about that. So when any team member here brings up a question, which is like anything. So I say, or bring up a question or bring up an idea to go build a vertical like this, I do three things. First question I say is, what's the opportunity? Okay. So what does success look like? What does failure look like if it doesn't work? And what is the obstacle for success? So what that does is, so if the person behind me says, I want to build this, what's success look like? What does failure look like? So does it cost us $20,000, $1 million? That's what failure could look like. What success look like? It can make you $10 million. What is the obstacle to success is how much effort has to go into that thing. So when people come these ideas, I try to make this company more systematic so you can really build a company and really use a framework for everything. Have I ever smoked weed? Have I inhaled? I think every person has experimented with it. I like the CBD side of things for sleeping and other other things too as well. And I think the CBD side is something that I'm more into, but I'm not against like the idea of smoking pot or stuff like that. I think that's in moderation or something. It's just like a drinking. It's the same kind of concept. As you know, I'm on this health kick, which I mentioned earlier. I drink water and I eat at certain times, so I'm pretty religious to that. But I just think it's just another thing out there, and and it can help a lot of people. I mean, there's people that can't eat and they aren't hungry, and cannabis helps them. So my uncle, he's super skinny because of his bad Crohn's, and it's a night and day change. So I think that's the part that in this documentary, I think it's really one of the things that needs to be exposed in a big way, because the world needs to see these things. As I know, we all live one life. We all live one life. That's what I know of. So why suffer through it? If there's things that are out there that can make your health be better and make your quality of life be better, why isn't that an easy option? To me, it's a no-brainer, and that's what I'm here to support. I believe you work hard, play hard, but at first, health. Without health, you have nothing. And so I just think it's on us, events like BZ Cannabis, to let people know this is what exists. Here's what you can possibly do. And I just think it's a really powerful message that needs to be sent, not to just America, but across the world. Miami, February 24th and 25th, I believe, at the Fountain Blue. If you want more information about it, BZ, B's and Boys, Z's and Zebra, Cannabis, CANNABIS.com. And should be there. There's going to be about 1,000 other people there. It's already our most sold out event we ever had. So looking forward to seeing everyone there. And then we have one in Detroit, April 1st.